Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2021 Bermuda Championship first look. And just a quick recap over the ZOZO Championship. What a great tournament it ended up being. We had Gary Woodland withdraw, which that was disappointing, but I told a lot of people do not play Gary. He's got a bad hip. Looks like that got in the back, played 7 holes. Shot was at 3 under and just had to pull. So we had another one of those. You had Adam Scott, of course, withdraw before the tournament with a positive COVID test, which these are just kind of getting a little bit of annoying with the Finau and DJ and Scheffler, who's also had the same thing, hoping that it is actually a true positive, as in you hope they're not missing tournaments of a false positive, but you also, of course, don't want them sick. But yeah. And then what a great finish. You had kind of the best case scenario on 2 fronts. You had, of course, the Thomas, JT, and Rahm playing together, bringing in the rear, and then Cantlay coming from behind to catch those guys, which helped me out immensely, definitely for the showdown finale round. And then on the flip side, you had, which I don't think a lot of people got to see a whole lot of coverage, but if you watch PGA Live, you had Tiger playing with Phil, which, I picked Tiger for sure as a fade and didn't disappoint. You had, Phil being Phil. I think he had one really good round that I think he kind of threw away. I think it was on Saturday, I believe, that he kind of threw away with a quad or something like that. But neither here or there. Let's just recap real quick with the picks, and then we'll get into what we're looking forward in the Bermuda, as we do have a little more information, at least 1 year of past history. No shot link data, but we'll talk a little more about that. So top 5 studs worked out pretty well. Not perfect, but pretty well. As you had Rahm, who came in, ended up, I believe, around 124 fantasy points, shot 22 under. Him and JT ended up tying at the end there for second. So if you played him, as kind of one of your main top players, you're doing well. Even with Rory, did not finish well as a having a T17, but also would have got you 110 points and, would have been all right. Finau came in at T11, and he would have got you 111 points. And on that note, crazy. We'll talk a little bit about my best lineup versus the winning lineup. I believe the winning lineup ended up like 750 points or something like that. Never seen anything like it from a fantasy point perspective with golf. As I kind of mentioned, I had a pretty good feeling just literally from understanding the course setup and everything that these guys were just going to boat race it, and they did. I mean, if it wasn't for a little bit of weather on Sunday, I think it would have even been crazier. But Webb Simpson came in at T17. He had 103 points, and then Mr. Patricio Reed, where are you at? Came in at T14, and he had 104 points. So all those guys, got you 100 points or better. And all, T20 or better. So not a bad start to a lineup if that's where you went. The mid-range also was pretty solid. Bubba coming at a T4, 117 points. Paul Casey still struggling. I was kind of thinking Casey would finally, if he's going to make a nice showing. He shot under 70 every round. Well, I take that back. He shot under par for every round, but got you 85 points if you would have played him. But still not where we need Paul. It looks like the putter is still holding him back, losing about a stroke and a half to the field. Of course, I mentioned Adam Scott off the bat. He did not play due to COVID test. And then Scotty Scheffler, who's just been getting a little better and better since Sanderson Farms, ended up at a T17 and would have got you 98.5 points. And then Matthew Wolff, was hoping that was just a one bad showing there the past week at the CJ Cup. It looks like the swing problems are an issue. Still, again, if you would have played him from a point perspective, got you 97.5 points, but, it did cost 9,100. So we did get a discount on him compared to the week before. But, his only really good day was on Sunday where he shot 6 under, and he's losing 3.5 strokes off the tee and lost almost 4 strokes around the green. And so for a guy that pretty much was playing his home course, been playing since he was 12, he said. We kind of knew that he was around there. We knew he lived, went to high school 7 miles away. We didn't know how many times he played the course, but we knew he was going to have some history. But, if you went on the Coke Rack kind of theory of the previous year or the previous tournament, the MGM ties, the CJ Cup at Shadow Creek, I thought this was a perfect spot where Wolf would get back on track. In worst case, T10, but that did not happen. But, just keep an eye out for that. Like I said, his game right now, and he does this, is trending down, and I can't think of, you can't even blame the home course and fans because, yeah, there was a few of his fans there from the houses, but, you should be no more comfortable. You play with Tiger the first day. Okay, again, we can give you a little bit of pass first time ever playing with Tiger, but Tiger's not Tiger anymore. I mean, you're playing, it's like when Tiger played with Jack Nicklaus and Palmer, at their end of their career. I'm sorry, people aren't going to like that take, but, Tiger's at the end of his career. He's been amazing. No one better, but, you should not be intimidated. Let's just put it that way. And maybe that was it. Maybe he went out and tried to, show him how, great he was and show off. I don't know, but no excuses for Mr. Matthew Wolff. Now, these are my lower picks, and if you would have just took this 5 guys and threw in a Cantlay or a JT or a Rahm, you were in the money for sure. So let's talk a little bit about these guys. Lanto came in at T11, would have got you 106 points. Had an amazing first 3 days, and then ended up shooting even on Sunday. So that's why he moved down the pack. And he lost, he was losing 2 strokes to the field off the tee, but everything else was solid. He led the field in putting, gaining 6.6 strokes, which I'm not super excited about. Whenever you are doing, have that kind of gain strokes and putting, you're always going to come back down to earth. But overall, like I said, for $7,000, I've always said play Lanto. He 10Xs. Again, he over 10X his value. So yeah. Mackenzie Hughes, again, not the greatest finish, but again, got you 86 points for 6,500, and just had a bad Friday. Just shot even. But other than that, he was, doing well, and he lost. Where he hurt was just losing 5 strokes off the tee, just off the tee game. That's where he will struggle. And then Cameron Champ, I wasn't expecting a top 10 out of Cameron, but did think again that, a bit you could take advantage of the par 5s with the length, and that's what we were looking for. And he did. I mean, the guy lit it up and got 112 points and did very well. And then, of course, Sebastian Munoz, again, just barely more than Lanto. And these 2 guys, like, I'm going to be curious when DraftKings price these guys again. But probably, I don't even know if we're going to see at the Masters. I'd have to look at that. I don't know if they're in the field or not. But in short, if they keep pricing them, 6, 7, low 7s, you just got to keep putting these guys in. It's kind of like your free square. He shot 16 under, actually led the tournament on Thursday, and he led the whole field on approach, almost gaining 7 strokes on approach, but actually lost almost 4 off the tee. So if he could have just been a little bit off the tee, he could have even done better. And then I mentioned, I put Jordan Spieth in here. I'm not a Spieth lover, but it was all back to we needed guys. If you're going to give me 4 days of Jordan Spieth, what he can do, especially on this course, he's going to get you points. And so even though he T41, he beat a ton of guys in a point perspective that finished better than him and ended up getting 97 points and really just had a bad Saturday, shot 2 over. And Jordan, being Jordan, again, well with the putter, but lost almost 3 strokes off the tee and 2.5 off the approach. And so, again, he's having issues there. But for 6,900, these guys were the guys to fill your bottom up if you were, especially if you were building a Rahm, JT build, or, just trying to get a 2-stud kind of field and then filling in the bottom. All right. And then my fades, you know what? I did pretty well. Of course, Tiger, I don't think that was, a shocker to anyone that really watches what's going on in golf. Tiger's trying to get his swing and game together for the Masters. I know he's not playing the Bermuda, even though some places I actually saw where they touted him. I don't know why. That he was going to be in the field, but he's not in the field, everything I've seen. But he might play Houston, but it wouldn't shock me that we don't see him until the Masters. And, it's just nothing against Tiger, but he's just not swinging. I've seen Tiger play live, watched him multiple times. And that guy, especially, this is 10 years ago, had one of the most violent swings I've ever seen, as in his rotation pivot. And if you watched this previous tournament, he's just almost like he's half swinging. Yeah. And so I think he's still physically having issues, and it is going to be what it is. Kokrak ended up at T17, got you 96.5 points. But again, you were paying a premium for him coming off his win. And so I don't feel bad with that. 8,600. Like I said, you had guys like Jordan Spieth who cost, almost 2,000 less and got you more points. And then Mr. Hatton, finally kind of slowed down a little bit. And I was waiting for that to take place. And let me see, where did he finish? T28 cost you 10,000 and only got you 90 points. So as I mentioned, again, Spieth would have been a better play, funny enough. So fades were pretty on. I feel pretty good about those. And then my hidden gems, honestly, none of these guys really did anything. You got 4 days out of them. I'm not going to go into a whole lot, but Nick Taylor for 6,100, almost a bare min, got you almost 70 points. Adam Hadwin got you 66 points. And then Streelman, actually, I think he had a pretty good Sunday. And I can't find him off the top here. So no big deal. But yeah, like I said, he out of the three, I know he did the best. Then I also had Benoit Ann, and he did all right too. But none of them, T10 or anything like that. But we were looking at bare minimum price guys that we were trying to figure out. And these guys all can get hot. And it just, didn't really happen for them. And then let's talk a little bit about Mr. Cantlay. I call him Patrick Can't Lose. Kind of got on board with him. I had him a lot in the Masters at Tiger won. And then I think he gained the lead, I think, on the 12th hole on Sunday. And then it was like he had the lead for like 2 seconds and then kind of fell apart a little bit. But, funny enough, if you look here, this is why I brought this up. What was interesting is, I think from my past knowledge, he's the only winner of a tournament that didn't lead in one of the shot gain categories. Now, and as you see in total shot gain, of course, it's almost impossible not to be the highest in that. But typically one of those, if it's usually the putting, but he didn't lead in off the tee or approach. He just did everything well. And that sums up Patrick Cantlay. When he's playing just to average or above, there's really not a hole in his game. And so if you take a look at just some past history, so of course we know he won the ZOZO, and you can see that everything was pretty solid across the board. There was not one gleaming like, oh, he gained 10, like Kokrak last week gained 10 strokes putting. So that's very interesting going in the Masters. But you can also look at, Patrick really didn't, his first tournament after the COVID shutdown was Travelers. And, he came out, he had 11th and a 7th and looking solid, green across the board. And then he kind of, just kind of started to go downward. And you can see for 4 tournaments, he struggled. And then not a bad showing at the BMW, the US Open, where he typically, I think that course kind of fit him because he is a pretty accurate and very great ball striker, but struggled there. And then we saw this emergence at the Shriner, which is, where he's just won it or came in second. It's like his own freaking Open and did great. But then the CJ Cup was like, oh no, back to what, Patrick was been doing. So, I had him in some lineups, very little. I built 10 hand-built lineups for the major. I did very well on the showdowns, is where I've been making my money to make up for my misses on the big game. But yeah, long story short, nothing was saying, oh, for sure he's going to go out and win the ZOZO. I thought he'd be, competitive, but I didn't think he, had it. I mean, you could see why. So he was not on, one of my major plays. So that is at that. The guy that I do want to bring up, and not that I think this is some hot take or, but if you don't follow golf to the point that I do, Russell Henley could he's just, nobody talks about him. He just goes about his business very low key. And so, funny enough, he actually led the field tee to green, and he actually led on approach the field in this tournament. So if you look over at the far right here, this is what killed him, or he would have won the tournament. And I actually bet him outright quite a bit to win. And so I was pulling for him. He ended up in 4th place. But then again, the CJ Cup, where actually the putter was super hot, around the green, he stunk a little bit. But the guy, since the Wyndham, watch out is the reason why I'm bringing this up. Again, we won't see him. He might be at Houston, but for sure we should see him in the Masters. And if you are, can get some bets in now, what you can. I've already got a couple bets in, just so if you want to know, I've already got a bet in on Scheffler. It was a great odds. It was 85 to 1. So I jumped all over that. This was a while ago. But yeah, watch out for Russell Henley. He's due to win a tournament here shortly. And then lastly, just going over the winner versus me. Congrats to Brown Dog 19. ended up, as I mentioned, 744 points. Every guy he had was over 100. You know, there's Cantlay, there's the Munoz Griffin stack. So actually, I had a stack right before this one that came in like 630 or something like that, that had the Munoz Griffin together. You know, it's funny, Damon was kind of a last minute ad. I actually, when I did my hidden gems, he was on my list. And then the more I actually started to do analysis, I struggled with putting him out there, to be honest. And I'm not saying like, you know, he did amazing. You know, he did well for him, 18 under, had a T8. But yeah, you know, I didn't put him on there because I just, you know, I don't want to lead you guys astray. And but I put him in as a flyer. Yeah. So in short, I did well. Like I said, I think I had, as I mentioned, 10 lineups hand built. I think 8 of them cashed. But this was my best. I think this came at $25 or, you know, it's the one thing you'll see in the GPP. You know, my recommendation to you guys, which I've learned over time is, and you know this, you know, but to do the 100, you know, unless you just got a crazy stack and you, you know, want to, if you get into these, either you put in one lineup or like 10 lineups, but to put in like 20 or 30, I think you're wasting your money. So what I'm getting to is either you put 150 in or you put in 10 or less. And then really focus on the showdowns. As I mentioned before, there's some really good showdowns. The $85, you know, you're playing against 3 other people. If you win, you get $300. That's where I've been doing well. There's, as I mentioned, a $267 buy-in. Again, you're against 3 other people. And if you're doing your homework, which I'm guessing you are, and watching me and watching other people and doing your own analysis, you know, I'm not saying the guys you're going against don't know what they're doing, but I think you might have an edge, is all I'm saying. Because like I said, I've been doing very well in those. But, you know, you do things to break your way. All right. On to the Bermuda Championship. So here we go. Some fast facts. This is the second PGA event being played here. Last year was the first, and and I needed to correct my 2020 up there. I'm a firm believer that this is the 2021 Bermuda Championship. You're going to see a lot of people call it the 2020. It is not. We are in the 21st season. This was already played in for the 2020, but neither here or there. Yeah, Brendan Todd win it. It's at the Port Royal Golf in Southampton, Bermuda. And yard is a 71, par 71. Again, not too far off. I think Corrales, the field and the length in the course, you know, I think it's different greens. These are Bermuda, where I think, if I remember right, Corrales was a pulse palm. So that's a little different, but they're slow greens. We'll talk a little bit about that. The purse went up $1 million. There is no other competing event. Usually there was a WGC, I believe in Mexico is what was going on at the same time. Full 500 FedEx points is going to first place, where before they would divide that 500 points up throughout the field. And let's see what else I can glean. Let's talk about, you know, just some past, you know, this is again 1 year, but you got Brendan Todd, as I mentioned, who won it, who will be in the field. Harry Higgs, which would have been an interesting play, but he's not in the field. Brian Gay is in the field. I believe Laboda, Scheffler's not going to be in it, but Wise will be. Gomez will be. Armour. I don't know about Hearn or Roach, but yeah, that just gives you, that was the top 10, you know, so it's a TA, top 10 finishing guys, and you can find that on your own. I just threw it up there just so, you know, if somebody didn't want to go do the research. And then here's past course conditions. So hitting fairways, you'll notice, this is about the one thing I gleaned from this, was difficult the first 3 days. And that was just wind. You know, you see the first day was windy as fuck, and then, you know, moderate the last 2, and then calm. And so then, of course, it was easy. You know, as I mentioned, slow greens comparative. I think the tournament they just came off was 12.5 run on the step meter. I would guess about the same, or even maybe a little slower here. And rough length short. So, you know, again, we're looking at a 20 under. I think the cut last year was at 1 under. Could have been 2 under, but it was something around there. Yeah. And so, you know, we're looking for guys when it comes down to playing that we don't have to worry about the tee ball so much. We're going to need approach. And I got some of that. Let's get into that, the breakdown. Now, again, there is no shot link data here last year. I don't have confirmation if they'll have shot link data this year. I think Corrales, they didn't either. So I'm guessing not, that they're not sending these guys to Bermuda to go set up the towers and stuff. So we're going to go with there's not going to be shot link data, but there is data enough to where, fairways and regulation, greens and regulations, 3-putt avoidance, that kind of thing. So we can glean some stuff. So this is looking at the top 10 finishers, how they did against this course. Par threes and par fours were, looked like they did very well from a scoring perspective. You need to hit the greens, but the tee, off the tee was not as big of an issue. 3-putt avoidance, that's very typical. Yeah, you can't 3-putt a lot. No shit. And then average sand saves, it's a little more for the winners here. But you can see, like I said, average fairways gained. You can see how that kind of just skews where it's not where it's crazy that the winners, hit so many more fairways. So I think the greens and reg is going to be important. And this shows you right here that driving accuracy is not important here comparative to average tour event. Green and reg is a little more important in scrambling. And the whole composition breakdowns, when I build the models, I'll be taking, of course, those holes from a par 4 perspective, look like the 2 main, and then there's some par 5s. Short par 5s, very gettable. And, just a quick scoring distribution down there in the bottom. And then let's take a quick look at the player field. So this is the player field as I know it. And this is taken the last 12 rounds with just looking at shot gain totals. So you can see Molinari total shot gain is leading this field. If you look at Will Z, ball striking leads the field and off the tee and tee to green. So you can kind of already see who's going to be the number one most expensive player will be Will Z. I'm recording this about noon Eastern on Monday, so the pricing has not dropped. I don't really know if the odds, Vegas odds have dropped, so we're still waiting on that. But from an approach perspective, we got Wesley Bryant lead in that area. From a putting perspective, Molinari. So those, top 3 guys are interesting. I think I had Griot as who I had on the front because I think this could be a tournament for him. There's, a lot of, I kind of like these tournaments. We're back to, it's not a full 156 if I saw correctly, but I think the field size, is somewhere between 120 to 132. And if they win this tournament, also just a side note, they do have an invite for the Masters. So there's something out here to gain for the 2021. So not the Masters that's coming up, but for the next one. So I think that's everything there I wanted to cover. And then some guys I just pulled just to talk about real quick that'll be here that, the biggest name from a name perspective is Henrik Stenson. Again, he lives in the Bahamas. And I think if you saw his interview, people asked him what his plan was until the Masters. And he said, I'm going to play the Island Tour, which of course he played Corrales. He's playing here because, again, it's just a little hop putter jump. And if you see this place, it is gorgeous. And so I'm just, again, with Corrales, man, what a life when you could be like, I'm not going to go to the Bahamas or I'm not going to go to Punta Cana or to Bermuda. That's when when you're turning that down. Like I said, it's an amazing, beautiful area. But Hendrick, at Corrales, I kind of, was kind of on the fade with him because I just felt like, hey, I'm here. I'm going to play. I'm not sure how bad, I think this is going to be a warm up for him for the Masters, but, he leads approach to the green. It's all about the putter with Hendrick. But I think he's live for sure, a live play. You got Ryan Armour here, who, again, doesn't do anything extremely amazing. Around the green is way above average. But just a solid player, tee to green. And again, it will come down to see where his putter fits in. But then you got Stuart Sink also in the field this week, who's, coming off his win not too long ago. And I'm blanking. I think it maybe was Sanderson Farm, the Chicken Open. Is that what he won? Doesn't matter. But anyways, yeah. So again, a guy that he's been doing well in his putting. He's been making birdies. So either way, to get him plugged into your lineup, again, we'll have to see what the cost perspective is on him. But so I just wanted to show, some of these guys that'll be in the field. We got some history on them, what they've been doing, recent form, and we'll go from there. So I appreciate it greatly, and that's kind of my wrap up for the first look and just kind of a recap of what went on at the ZOZO. We aren't going to have the kind of amazing fields we've had over the last few tournaments. So we're kind of back to the alternate fields, but that's okay. This is where the opportunities are. I think from a multi perspective, from a betting odds, I think I enjoy betting on these guys much more than than I do the ones where it's a no cut field. And then also, you're going to have to make your picks because there are going to be cuts. Maybe not as much cuts or mini cuts as we're used to, but with a field of like 130, but still going to be cuts. So all the best. I will be releasing my deep dive analysis into the field, run my models, whatever insights I can gather, and give you my picks for tomorrow. That'll be out in the afternoon. Talk to you then. And again, if you're getting any value, enjoy what I'm doing, or hey, if you dislike what I'm doing, I could use all the input. Give me a comment, and I would appreciate it. And if you'd like and share and subscribe, it would help me out greatly. Thanks so much.